so much more, whether it's just changing careers, whether it's moving abroad, something, and they feel like they can't do it yet because they don't have enough money. Usually it's financial. They don't have enough money, or they just feel like people are relying on them so much, or even their kids are relying on them so much. So they just get to work, they sit in their cars and have to come up with all of this um, energy to just get out of the car and go into the building where they work. Or they sit in their office and close the door when they get there and have to whoosah, until they can get that energy to face everybody and to have those toxic conversations with other people. Because it is really a face that you have to put on day in and day out. And let me tell you, that face that you put on, it gets embodied within you, not just your physical body, but in your mind as well. You start to embody that, you start shrinking, you lose your voice, you don't feel empowered anymore. And then on the outside, your face starts to get puffy because that's inflammation. Like your body is reacting in all kinds of ways because of what you're putting up with. And it shows. And you think it doesn't because you're so used to feeling that way and feeling like all these aches and pains that you're experiencing are normal, but they're not normal. That's all the stress that's building up inside of you, all that toxicity, and you've convinced yourself it's old age, or yeah, it might be, it's just part and parcel of what we got to go through because of the 9 to 5 culture. That's part of the hustle and grind that we have to deal with. But why do we have to deal with it? Why have we convinced ourselves that we have to deal with those kinds of feelings day after day? Why are we feeling like we can't pursue our own dreams? Like they're unimportant all of a sudden. I don't work in corporate, but always clock in with my guard up. See, yeah, yeah, we always have that guard up. And who wants to go to work day after day with your guard up? Me, I want to go. I work every day, but I work for myself now. But I, when I wake up in the morning, I wake up until when my eyes pop open. No alarm, no nothing like that. I just decide that okay, it's time to wake up now because there's things I want to do, things I know I need to get done for the people that I serve, but not for people who are going to talk down to me or people who are going to put me in a box or limit me in some way. I mean, you might have some of y'all have supervisors that are half your age talking down to you and telling you that you're not good enough, or they keep saying, oh, you just missed the cutoff for this bonus, or for this, amount of money, always shrinking you. And that's just, it's no way to live. I know when I finally decided to leave the job, I should have decided a long time ago, but I could barely get out of bed in the mornings because of the pain that I was experiencing in my back, which was a ton of stress, all accumulated from work and from the relationship I was in. And yes, when I decided to quit the job, I quit. And some of that toxicity, I didn't have to deal with that anymore. And that was great. But then I was in the relationship, but what changed things for me is when my partner at the time said to me, you know, You're never going to leave. And I was like, wait, what? I'm never going to leave. Is that who you think I am? Like, no matter what happens, no matter what you do, what you say, I'm never going to leave. And it made me realize that work was thinking the same thing. They think that people will never leave because jobs are scarce. And the people who did quit, they came back because they believe, like, I better, I need to hold on to this job, or, there's no other jobs out there. And they figured, they were gone for like a week, or some of them, a couple of them left for 2 weeks and then came back. We have such a mindset of scarcity, and that scarcity will keep us locked in our place, keep us stuck from doing anything, pursuing any of our dreams. And I'm not going to say it was easy it was not easy to start thinking differently, but I did have to change my mindset. And the thing that did it for me was first to realize, like, and I didn't realize until I started really delving into the Bible. And I started praying to God. I was like, God, why am I here? What would you have me do? Because I can't keep living like this. I can't keep getting out every single morning in worse pain than the day before. I mean, every day it was terrible. I could barely walk, and I just felt so depressed and alone. It was pretty bad. And I just, was reading the scriptures day after day. And then that's when God put those visions that I had stuffed into the back of my head. He brought them back to life for me and said, hey, this is what you wanted to do before. You always thought about moving to another country where they were speaking another language. Like, if you recall, you put that in your journals. Like, you want to live in another country where they're speaking another language. Like, I never even knew where exactly. I just knew that that's what I wanted to do. But he brought those things back up into my mind, as if, like, to say, those things are possible. You can still have those things. And I would start to get like such a good feeling from thinking about it, that when I did come home from work after working a 12-hour shift, I would come home and I would just sit there and think about that, and thinking about, okay, what would it look like? And the place where I'm at right now actually looks like the vision that I had in my mind back then. It's uncanny. It really is. Like, the balcony that I have, the whole environment when I'm walking to the market and stuff, it's pretty amazing. But that's, part of how God set things up, that law of attraction they talk about. And, I'm not going to get woo woo, because it's not woo woo. It's how God set up his world, our world, for us to attract the things that we really want, and that they can come to life if we pursue them. But if we stay stuck and stay in areas and in situations that are not for us, we'll never see the other side. When did you know it was time to leave your job? Was it a breaking point or waiting for the right moment? Yeah, that's pretty much when I knew. Well, my job, that was when I knew I had to leave the relationship. When he said, you'll never leave, like, all of a sudden I was like, okay, it's time to go. And that was after 6.5 years in that relationship. And I put up with a lot, because the person that I was with was, for all intents and purposes, on the outside for everybody else to see, people, including the family members of that person, was just thought he was like the best thing since sliced bread. Like he could do no wrong. But they didn't know that side of the lying, the cheating, and all of that. And, another person who had been in a relationship with him knew, definitely knew. But it finally dawned on me that why am I putting up with this? But for so long, he had me convinced that the things that I was seeing with my own eyes and hearing with my own ears were my own insecurities. I didn't have insecurities before I met him. I didn't have any. And I'm not a person to think everybody's lying unless I see it for myself. Like I'll believe you and I'll go to bat for you. I'm a loyal person until I see otherwise. But after, being weighed down from work and in the relationship, on both sides, you face it at work and you face it at home. You just embody that quicksand. That's what it feels like. Like you're just being sucked into it. And you start to think like, this is my life now. Like I know, like, what am I going to do 5 years from now? I guess I'm still going to be in this. How you start to come up with coping mechanisms for it instead of ways to get out. You start to think like, okay, now this is what's happening. So if when he comes home, this is what I'm going to say, or this is what I'm going to deal with. It's all a coping mechanism. It's nothing about trying to do better for yourself or getting out of the situation, nothing like that. And when you do that for so long, it's hard to think anything else. So, as far as the job, I knew that when I first went into it, I said, okay, I'm not going to be there. I'm going to get the experience and then I'm going to get out. Like I might be here for a few years and then I'm going to get out, because to get the job that I had, I took a cut in pay from what I was doing before that because I wanted the experience of this particular job. So as a director of this program, I I was running the department. I put up with a lot and it just became too much, especially when they started to tell me, well, we're not giving any raises. You guys are not getting a bonus this year. And then they were saying something about the Christmas party, and then they called it employee celebration or something like that. And it just kind of came and went. First, they said, well, we were going to have it. They kept putting off the date. And then we didn't have it. They left to go out of the country for a month, came back. This is the owners. They left, they came back, and nothing when they came back. So, those kinds of things, you want us to be loyal, but you don't want to follow through. Like, what are we getting out of this? We're just giving our very souls to you, and you're not giving anything in return. So when I was called into a meeting with the owner and the VP, and they were giving me pushback once again about my vacation time and telling me that, you picked the wrong possible time to go on vacation, which is what I heard every single time I took vacation. They would say something like, oh, you're going to have to make yourself available while you're away. Like, I'm on the beach and you want me to make myself available? I don't think so. But that's what they expected. And so, they said that was the wrong time. And then they gave me grief about taking bereavement days when my mother passed away, like whether I was going to get 1 day or 2 days. And And I was just planning on just sitting there listening to what they were saying when they called me in on the meeting and then leaving and saying, okay, continue on my day. But something just like time stood still. And I had this outer body experience where the owner was sitting in front of me at his big desk, windows all around. And I'm sitting there and he's kind of doodling on his paper. After he asked me this question, he said, you don't seem very happy here anymore. And then he just looked down and just kept like doodling on this paper. And then the VP kind of glanced at me and then looked away. And I just like kind of rose up out of the situation and was looking down at everybody. And I was like, do I really want to continue with this? And God said to me, do it right now. Do it right now. Now is the time. And I said, you know what? You're right. I'm not happy here anymore. And I'm giving my 2 weeks notice. And the owner, he put down the pen right away and he was like, because, they were trying to call my bluff. Like, because yeah, I wasn't happy, but the last thing that they thought was that I was going to quit because I was running that department. They didn't have anybody else. And so he's like, but we like working with you. I was like, you know what? I like working with you too, but I can't be here anymore. And there were two owners, and he was one that I actually did like working with because whatever he said was what he did, because he was also kind of on the spectrum. So everything was either black or white. There was like no gray. There was no in between. Like you had to kind of figure out what he wanted and things like that. He was just very straightforward. And I appreciated that. So the BP was shocked also. And that's when I knew. And I finally left the company about 2 weeks after that, packed up my shoots and left. And about 2 weeks after that, the VP quit. And he was one that was running everything in that whole company. I mean, like he was running stuff that the owner should be doing. He created all kinds of programs for the like systems for everything to be running properly. And he always said, yeah, I'm going to quit one day, when my kids are out of college, but I can't do it now because, I want them to be stable. And he quit. And he called me up and he's like, guess what? I quit. And I was so excited for him because I knew he had dreams too. And that causes that momentum, that shift. Like one person quits and then the other person who had dreams and stuff, they're like, you know what am I doing here? Like she's the last person I thought would quit and I'm still here. I'm leaving too. And his life right now is so amazing. He's doing so many great things with his life. And I say that to say, you got to pursue what your visions are. We can't keep continuing to put our lives on hold because who are we doing that for? For the boss? What are we getting out of it? Like another few dollars, if that, a pension that we might be too old to enjoy or too much in pain from physical stress to enjoy. My current job folks said similar things to me saying I don't look happy anymore and I'm not. It sucks being black in a large company trying to move up. Yeah. The company I'm with has high turnover rate in management. The work to me is easy, but the environment is pure trash. Nowadays, the types of people you have to work with, especially with Trump in office. That's so true. And I totally, totally get that. And I don't like working for anybody. I never did. I never liked it. And I'm always trying to think of what can I do to create something where I don't have to work for somebody else. And I would say that to you. I would say that, pim pim hooray. I would say, whatever you're doing right now, can you teach it in some way? Can you do something online instead of doing that, what you're doing, and going to an office and working for someone else? Can you take a part of your evenings and get another certificate if you need to, just to be able to create something of your own so that you're not victim to that environment? Because that is so draining. I know it is. I remember. And it's just no way to live. It really isn't. And that's why I say, I got out, and you can too, because it's a decision that I made to leave. It's not something that, I mean, I planned it. I planned to move to Spain, but I didn't know how it was going to work out. And a lot of people, they plan it as if, okay, this has to be the place where I'm going. Like, I have to make sure that it's right, and I have to make sure I have all the money and everything in place. I didn't have hardly anything in place, and I certainly didn't have all the money. In fact, I lost some of the money. But you know what? To not be in that environment again, I will take it. I will do it again if I had to. I'm so much more at ease now. As I look at my dog, and he's like, he's like relaxed. That's how I feel. I'm like, you know, that's what I've been brainstorming, how to monetize my skills. Been looking into notary certificates, any kind of certificate. The only reason I'm with current job is the benefits for my family. Yeah, I understand that, when you have a family, that's something that you have to think about. Um, a lot of the remote work, you can go to places like Coursera, Coursera, and they will take those certificates, which are very reputable, in order to do remote work. You got to start somewhere. But the other thing is, people don't want to move because of like insurance and everything. But the money that we pay in co-payments, and I mean, I can't tell you how many thousands of dollars I'm still paying on hospital bills, mind you, still. And the amount of money that we pay to doctors with the co-payments and stuff, and the monthly payments for insurance, is crazy compared to what it is overseas. It just doesn't cost that much. Like, for example, here in Spain, um, they have the convenio especial, where you pay a certain set amount. It's like either $60 or $70 a month, and that covers everything. It covers specialists. It covers everything. And Thailand, who has some of the best world doctors, they're so highly trained. When I was there, I went to a few doctors, and I paid hardly anything to see these specialists. And so, because things are so cheap, it's like the price of a copayment in the US. And I'm not saying, like, yes, things can happen, but I'm not going to live my life because things can happen or may happen. I'm just not going to do that. If it happens, it happens, and I'll deal with it then. Like, when I got here, my sink blew up. My sink literally blew up. The whole thing in the faucet, everything just came apart. Water was gushing out, and I couldn't turn it off. And I completely panicked. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know anybody, couldn't call anybody. And I didn't even have my phone system set up. It was crazy. And all of that happened within like a 10-second period, water gushing up. And I'm thinking about all these different things. And then I'm like, wait a second. And I even thought about my ex, like, oh my gosh, maybe I should call him and ask him what I should do. Like, why? Why am I going to go through all of that? Because, I'm in a situation that I'm unfamiliar with. And then that's when I realized, like, wait a minute, I know how to fix this. I could figure this out. I used to do construction work. Like, I've had two other homes before gutted and had to do a lot of the work myself. And so I know how to do that. So I took all the pieces and I put the thing back together again myself. And I have to get a whole new sink now, but it's working until I can replace it. So like things will come and you have to expect that they will come. But the thing is not to stay stagnant thinking about those things that may come. You got to keep moving and know that, okay, something's going to come and you just laugh it off. Because when that happened with my sink, like I had a moment of panic, like 10 seconds. And then I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And then I just was calm after that and put it back together. I mean, that's not the only thing that happened. There's a lot of things that happened since I've been here and since I moved. Like I've gone to 6 countries now in 1 year's time since I left the US. And there's something everywhere you go, but you just deal with it and know that it's going to work out. It always does. It just will. And to live your life waiting or in hopes that to live your life like being afraid, and which is not really being afraid, is living in anxiety. It's just not a good way to live. And I'm certainly not one to live I'm not going to live for my kids. I want my kids to see how I live. It's going to be better for them and truly better for me. I've only just become exhausted with my job. I'm working on a plan to slowly wean myself down to maybe part-time, a flex for the benefits. US healthcare is trash. My wife had health issues before. One bill was over $200K without insurance. A Navy veteran, was stationed in Washington for about a decade. I've traveled Southeast Asia, Africa, parts of Europe, and every Black person I meet wants to travel more for a break. I hear that. Yeah, because America will have you believe in all kinds of things. And I remember when I used to post really heavily in the early days about leaving the US, and I'm sorry, but people were coming for me about, what are you talking about, America? And you need to stay where you are. And you're just like, you're not working hard enough. You're not saving, and you're just spending above your means. And that's why you have the problem. Those were not Black people talking to me. That much I know. But you can say whatever you want to say. I don't care. Because look where I am and look where you are. You can stay in that hustle and grind culture all you want. I'm not going to be a part of it. I don't care who's in office. I just don't care because I had nothing to do with that. I had nothing to do with it. They're not going to come to me and say, what's your opinion on, what's happening now? They're not asking my opinion. So there's no need for me to get involved. I need to stay the course and help the people that I can help. Because they have their own agenda anyway. It's all about trying in life. That's all strong Black ladies plus God and determination. I pray daily, and I know I got to get out this rut. I know once I get out of department to a lower staffed one, Yeah, I broke free from the system. It's like the Matrix from hell nowadays. Wow. Yeah, that's terrible. It's so terrible. Yeah, and people, and back to what I was saying about like living for your family. You got to live for you. I remember back in the day when my daughter was in elementary school, and I was going through a tough time with her father, and he did not, absolutely did not, under any circumstances, want her to go to boarding school. And she, in my mind, had been on that trajectory since she was in the third grade. Because since kindergarten, she was in a gifted, she got into the gifted and talented program. And in the third grade, teachers started approaching me saying, "Hey, have you ever considered her to go to boarding school because they have such great opportunities and stuff? Because she's really smart." And I knew I didn't want her going to boarding school in elementary school or in middle school, but I did think about it for high school. So when she got in middle school, I started talking to him about it. He was like, "Absolutely not. No child of mine is going to go to a boarding school. And that's where rich people go to, they send their kids there to throw their kids away." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Like all these people who are CEOs of companies and stuff and have all these millions of dollars, you think they're just putting their kids in boarding schools because of that reason? Like, because they don't want to deal with their kids?" So, um, in talking about it after a while, he was still adamant against it. And then after a while, my daughter was too. So it was really, it was really difficult, me against both of them. But I already knew, I was like, you know what? I know that this is going to be the best thing for her because I had already done all the research, even though I gave him information and stuff too. But he had, a mindset that he was like, no, we're not going to do that. We went to visit schools and stuff too. And he was like, no. And I said, okay, you know what? Fine. You don't want her to go. She won't go. But guess what? I am moving from where we are right now. We didn't live together. And I said, I'm moving out of this area where my daughter and I lived, and she's not going to be able to go to the school system anymore because like a lot of places you have to go to the school where you live. I said, she's not going to be able to go to that school anymore. So if you don't want her to go to boarding school where I want her to go, then she's going to live with you. And that's it. So he was like, huh? Like, he didn't expect that because he liked his freedom. He liked to come and go as he wanted to. Yes, he loved his child. He wanted to be involved in her life as much as possible and see her as much as possible. But it's one thing to, do that, another thing to have your child live with you. Quite different. And I knew that. But I was like, but, and I was fine with it because I said to myself, you know what? I have to release all of that. And if you want to do that, then do whatever you want to do. But I know I'm not going to fight with you about it anymore. And if anything, you're going to just help me pursue whatever I want to do even faster because I'll be free. So um, he decided that, okay, let's just see, because I don't think that's going to work out if she comes to live with me. And so we went through and going through boarding school. I think I made a video on that before a while back. Going through that whole process is really grueling. Like she's got to take tests after test, and there's essays and stuff that you have to write for every school that you apply to and everything. So needless to say, she got a full ride. She got a full scholarship to this particular school, and she chose that school too. Like I think 2 years before that, she chose them. And when we went to this big, huge fair, I didn't even see the school there at the fair at the table because there were like 100 schools there, but I didn't see that one. But she chose it. She was like, "Well, if I have to go to boarding school, I choose this one." And so the next year, that's when we started applying, And they reached out to us and said, hey, are you still interested? Because we'd love for her to come visit. And she went to visit and she shadowed some of the students for the day and stuff. And of course, my daughter, she's like, it's okay, you know. And then when she got around her father, she was like, oh, I hated it. So I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you had a good time, because I was with her that day. I think they were celebrating, this is an international boarding school. So kids were coming from all over the world. But we had a great time. She had a great time. They were celebrating Martin Luther King Jr. And yeah, it was spectacular. The events that they were holding on that day. So she got the full ride, and she was there from ninth to 12th grade and loved every minute of it. She traveled to so many different countries with the school and without it. Um, so she's away, she's out of the country right now. She came here, she's only been here for 2 weeks, and then now she's off to France for a couple of weeks, and then she'll be back here again. She left at 5:30 this morning, and she'll be back again for the rest of the well, not for the rest of the summer, till the end of July. But she got into her top choice of college, as a result of going to a school like that really set her up for success. And she's so thankful. But had it not been for me to really push back and say, you know what, I am not going to, you do what you want, like, I have to release control. And our jobs try to control us. Everybody tries to control us. But I had to get out of all of that. Like, when I left corporate and I left the relationship, I had to leave all of that of somebody and something trying to control me, even family members. Like, I didn't want to be around anybody that knew me, who thought they knew me. Because people always say, "Oh, you know how you are." And in those moments you're like, maybe I used to be that way or think that way, but I don't think that way anymore. But they think you do. And people are always trying to put you in a box. And I didn't want to be around that anymore. And I knew I had to get up out of all of it. And it's like a plane, taking off. You have to get that engine going, and that takeoff. It takes a big struggle to get that big, huge plane that's so heavy, to get up into the sky. But once you're up there, you're coasting. But you have to take the leap. You got to make the decision to do it. I'm telling you, once you make a decision, the doors will open. They just do. The conversations happen. Somebody sends you an article about something, or you make connections with somebody about a particular job or place that you want to go to. That's just what happens. And I didn't give myself an alternative either. I said, this is either going to work or it's not going to work. There's no plan B or plan C. And I'm so thankful that my son, who lives in Thailand, he is like that too. I remember asking him when he told me he was moving to Thailand, I was shocked. And when he got there, when he moved, he said, I said, well, what are you going to do if it doesn't work out? See, that was a test. He's like, what do you mean if it doesn't work out? It's going to work out. I said, well, what's your plan B? He's like, I don't have a plan B. I was like, my boy, like, yeah, you don't have to have a plan B. It's just going to work out. Maybe not in the way you expected it to, but it's going to work out. Things like boarding schools and real boarding schools are needed nowadays for the education opportunities, because these youngins can't read, can't comprehend what they read. Yeah, that's very true, because the students in the program, when I was the program director at that school, I'm like, what kind of grades did you get in school that you can't do this basic stuff? Like, this is ridiculous. And the amount of like cheating that I would see. That was crazy too. I mean, we used to tell we used to tell them that we had cameras everywhere, which we did. But I think, students will always think like, oh, the cameras don't work. The cameras work. And I remember one girl who was getting bad grades. I know this is off on a tangent, but she was getting really bad grades and all of a sudden came up with a 100. And I was like, what? And not only she came up with 100, one of the other kids came up with 100. And then somebody else came up with like a 99. And I was like, okay, something's not right. I called them into my office, talked to them, and they're like, oh, yeah, we just, this is what we got. And they weren't admitting anything or nothing. And one of the girls, it was a boy and two girls, and one of the girls was she was a really nice person. Talking when you talk to her, she would communicate very well, articulate, but she didn't admit to anything. Well, I checked the cameras for the day of the test. And I mean, these kids were bold, bold, like writing down, went into the teacher's laptop when he went out of the room. I don't know how, copied the answers down, I guess, put them on a paper, and then taped it to the back of her chair that was opposite her so she could see it. And then the other boy came and put his coat over the chair. I mean, it was just a whole big fiasco. And it's so funny because this is how I let them know that I was on to them. I took the piece of paper that she wrote down all the and it's all on camera. I took the piece of paper that had all the answers. I opened up her locker and I taped it to the front of the inside of the locker and closed it. So when she went into her locker, and I watched her, I remember when she came into school the next day, and she went over to her locker and opened it, and she closed it, and I'm standing there behind the locker looking at her. And I'm like, what's that? And she's like, huh? I don't know. I was like, come into my office. So it was the most hysterical thing, And in her culture, they would frown on stuff like that. But there's all kinds of things like that going on nowadays. Like you can't take the time to study to get the grade. Why would you cheat? It's not that hard if you're consistent with it. I don't know. Um, it's good she had good Black parents who had the means to give your daughter that education and did it. Some folks have it, but don't do for their kids. It's why so many are messed up. Yeah. Black kids, I stress it to all Black folks, expose yourself to foreign cultures. It's the rigid American mindset that I try to tell us to start breaking away, starting with reading, trying different foods. Absolutely. Absolutely. We gotta leave the US and get out there. Yeah, because I remember even when back in the day, like I would come across so many people and they had never even traveled anywhere outside their state. Like how is that possible? I remember years ago I went to Tobago, which is part of Trinidad and Tobago. And I went to Tobago, and then I went over to Trinidad, and I asked them, like a lot of the people there, oh, have you been to Tobago? Like, when's the last time you've been there? And they're like, oh, I've never been to Tobago. What? It's just a half-hour ferry ride right across the way. Like you've never been there because it's so beautiful, so beautiful, and they just haven't never been there. So it's like to me, that's the same kind of thing. I want to I want to leap, just trying to find a spot to leap and take my family with me. Love Thai food, yeah. And we don't we spend a lot of time researching. A lot of time researching places and which one is the best one. Like I said, it doesn't have to be the best one. It doesn't have to be the perfect place. You just want a jump off point to get the heck out of where you are now. Like, just get away from it all. So you have time to think in a clear head. So you can think from a place of peace and balance. You can go to Thailand. There's so many places. Panama, Vietnam, all kinds of places that you can go to, Mexico, Colombia, where you don't have to, it's cheap and you don't have to worry about the cost, because once you leave the US, your costs drop so much, so much. It's just a different way of life. Like here, I just went to the grocery store the other day, filled up the freezer and the refrigerator, and it's big, and it was 60 euro. I would have easily paid $350 in the US for all the amount of food that I got. It's just different. I think the highest price thing that I pay for here is the electricity, which is not nearly as high as it is in the States, but that is the highest bill that I have here. So when I say, like, don't do so much research, like, just go, just leap. If you have an inkling to go, then just go. And I mean that with all sincerity. I mean, just go. I don't mean like, I started, I'm trying to think of how many months. Maybe I had 6 months prep work, and every single like money that I got in, I paid down a bill. I just paid it off or made a dent in it some kind of way. And I put everything. I had 2 huge storage units, huge, as Trump would say, huge. And before I left, I was selling everything like crazy. Every day I was meeting up with a different person online to sell my stuff, because shipping it would have cost so much more than it was actually worth. And a lot of things like furniture and stuff, it's not going to fit anyway. And this place that I got, it's 4 bedrooms, but the furniture that I had, I don't need it here. I don't want it here. And I'd rather get new stuff than pay for that shipping cost for stuff that's old and not worth it anyway. And I just sold off all kinds of stuff. On Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace. There were some other apps that I used to sell things, and I just sold it all. Well, not all of it. I wish. I ran out of time. So I condensed everything to one storage unit and even downsized that last one to a smaller storage unit. So I'm still paying on one storage unit. Now, storage prices, they will continually go up. They don't stay the same. It's based on whatever the market value is at the time for storage units. So they fluctuate, and they always get you in at a really good price, like it's $70 for 1 month or $70 for 3 months. But then after that 3 months is over, that introductory price, it skyrockets. So I know I have to go back to settle that and get the rest of that stuff out of storage unit, but I just ran out of time. But I don't want, there's stuff in there now that I want. Like, I have some really expensive original artworks that I have in there that I need to, I guess I'm going to sell, because my kids have decided they don't want it because they're not into artwork like that. I'm like, you know how much this is worth? They don't want them. So I have to, contact some art collectors, art dealers to sell them. But yeah. So if you plan to do your research, simply use your brain. It always tends to work out. I'm glad your son got free too. I was in Manila in the Navy and loved it. Oh yeah, Manila. That's wonderful. It's Amazon. Oh, Amazon. Yeah. Yeah. After 2012, society has devolved, and it's a shame. I'm glad my son and daughter got their mind right and not out being crazy or nasty. Yeah. It's hard out there for a worker. I like that. They have no curiosity, no self-starting in them. Yeah, I used to tell my kids all the time, like, No, you don't, because my son was never, he never wanted to go to college. Even though he did end up doing 1 year of college and he got his associates too. But college is not for everybody. And I said, it doesn't have to be. If you can think of, if, and I told my daughter the same thing, even though she does exceptionally well in school, I said, if you can think of some kind of company that you can create and you're making money from it steadily, you don't got to go to college. Just build up that company. But if you can't think of anything until then, go to college and get that piece of paper. Because no matter what happens, at least if you're in the US, you got that piece of paper to fall back on. Because a lot of, not a lot, but quite a number of young folks, teenagers, are making a lot of money, much more money than even I was making in my corporate job. They're making as teenagers because they're being so creative and they're using AI, you know. So there's a way to do it. Like if we teach our kids from young, they can start making money while we're trying to figure out where to move and everything. They could be starting to make money on their own. So we don't have to worry about like, okay, I gotta wait until they get to a situation they're in a position where it's okay for me to take them out of this school and go to another country or move them over here. Our kids are gonna be fine. They're resilient. We raise them well, and that's all we can do because they can change no matter what we instill into them. Hopefully, we've instilled the best that we can, and no matter what happens, they can always revert and do whatever they want to do anyway. And then what was the sense of us waiting? You know, just do for you what you want to live out your dreams before you 85 years old and you can't move anymore and you're like, oh, I had this dream that I wanted to do this or I wanted to do that, but you never fulfilled it. That book you wanted to write, you never even started it. It was all stuck in your head. You might have done like 2 chapters of it. What is my computer saying? Something's not syncing. I don't care. They have no curiosity, no so. Okay, yeah. I've looked at Amazons in other countries and the length of time. Canada, Ireland, Japan, Germany, etc. Hmm. Is your apartment in Spain less than 1,600 American, not including utilities? I bought this place. I bought it outright. I bought it because there's so many places that you can purchase things. Because I'm not in an area where, um, I'm not in Barcelona. I'm like 4 hours from Barcelona. I'm not in Barcelona in a city like that. Like I'm not living like in a New York, in a big city. It's a beautiful, um, it reminds me of living in, if you've ever been to New York or live in New York, it reminds me of Columbus Avenue and 70 79th Street over there. That's what this is like. And like in the middle of the street, how they have all the restaurants with the chairs and the tables you can sit down and eat and stuff. And but everybody's so sociable, like so friendly, and they go out of their way to help you. It's like that. And there's so many places like that. If you go away from the city areas, you can find stuff so cheap. And that's here. Imagine in Thailand, I looked into places there. Oh my gosh, it's so cheap. So cheap. Like I would buy something there. I just didn't have the time to really, look. But there's a lot of places. There's so many places. Depends on where you want to go, but there's places like you can go and buy something, rent it out. You know, it doesn't have to be a forever home. I just wouldn't think of it like that when I'm moving abroad. People are just weird in the US now. They've always been weird. We just never noticed it. I remember I come from the punk rocker days when people had spiked hair and pink hair. And then we had those women, we wore the Madonna glove, the lace gloves and stuff. And people were weird then too. I have my associates, but I look at the corporate world and I want no parts of it anymore. I have an Amazon sellers account and looking at how to monetize AI. You won't believe the amount of AI products. Wow. Yeah, I believe it. Go go forward. Go forward with that. If you know how to do that, that's amazing. Yeah. Get in on that now. That looks nice for real. That looks like even the wind is unstressed. Yeah, it is. It is really nice. It's so peaceful. I mean, the birds are chirping. It's just right now they're doing a lot of construction in my whole complex. And it's amazing because this complex where I'm living, unbeknownst to me, they got some kind of government contract, which they handed out to a few places all over. And this was one of the places that they chose to do a complete rehab. So they're replacing the windows, they replaced the whole, like the balcony doors, every single window in the apartment, they replaced. They haven't done the kitchen yet. Even in the bathroom, they replaced that window. Like I said, this they're replacing they replaced the roof. They're replacing the heating system, the air conditioning, and they've already been working at it over a year now. So they just finished painting. Well, they're not even finished. They're painting the outside of the building now. But they put up solar panels all over the roof, on all the tops of all the roofs. Like they went all in. But this is from the government, so it was a great investment. But I didn't know that they were going to be doing all that. So now my investment is worth even more than what I paid for it. So look for places. I was looking for a fixer upper because I know how to do construction. So I'm always, and I enjoy doing that. So I'm always looking for places that are, you know, need to be refurbished and undervalued. That looks nice for real. That looks like, oh, would you ever move back to the US? Heck no. Why would I move back to the US? I'm not moving back to no US. Look, when I was in Thailand, I was in a luxury apartment that was $400 a month, and it had the most beautiful swimming pool that wrapped around the complex. The gym was huge. It was right by the train station. It was gorgeous, very well maintained. It had a balcony. That same apartment complex would have been where I was living before, would have easily been $4,000 or more a month. I'm not moving back to the US. No, there's no. I was born in 85. People nowadays seem different, not like punk rockers or weird artsy people. I'm talking about seriously broken or damaged folks. Because there's a lot of mental issues, a lot of mental issues going on because of stress and drugs. You know, anti-anxiety meds and those prescription drugs like Ritalin, they are the highest prescribed drugs. And people are taking them like candy. Like, oh, I need to focus more. Let me take some Ritalin. The doctors are prescribing it because they're getting a kickback. There's so many, like, I knew firsthand some doctors who were writing people false notes and stuff, and helping them get disability and things like that. It's like, oh, that's what you were doing? Like, it's all a racket. It really is. Like, I saw it firsthand, and that's something else I'm putting together because I worked in dental health for over 25 years. And when I tell you the racket in the dental profession, it's ridiculous. The the stuff that they bill insurance and the things that they do on patients that they don't need to do, it's awful. It really is awful. That's all I can say. But I'm writing a book about it. So wait for the book. But it's going to be helpful because it's going to help you to see like, oh, wait a minute. It's going to have like questions you can ask your dentist when you go in there and know like, okay, wait. Is this necessary? Because this says here that this should be done only if this is this case. And if this is not, I shouldn't get it done. Is this the case? Because I remember a friend of mine came to me and said, and showed me the invoice for a whole list of treatment that cost like $15,000. I think it was more than that. It was like $15,000 of treatment they said he needed. And it was all this other extra stuff that they were charging him, plus stuff that he didn't have to have. I was like, you don't, and I just went through everything line by line. You don't need this. You don't need this. You can do this instead of this expensive thing. Like, and it just boggles my mind. And it's funny because at one point in time, I was going to go to dental school, to become a dentist. I'm so glad I didn't do that because I went like my major in school was biology to become a dentist. And I just decided, you know what? I don't think this is for me. Like, I love biology. I didn't like the chemistry. I hated that class. I hated those classes. But I was still gonna, forge through. But I just decided, you know what? I don't like this. So then I got out. I changed my major, and I started, like later I became a broadcast news journalist. So yeah. So I totally did not go the dental route. Um, how has your experience being Black overseas been? I haven't been out of country since 2012. Few cruises, but I don't count those. Do you feel that people overseas are fake nice with you? No, not at all. Not because of being Black. Absolutely not. If they do that, it's because of their culture. For example, I love Thailand. I really had a great time there. There's so much to do there and just it's simple. But at the same time, the culture is very, yes, it's the land of smiles, but the land of smiles that comes from the people, the workers there. Those are the people that are smiling and bowing to you and want to help you. Those are the people that are doing it. The people that live there who are like have any kind of affluence, they're not doing that. They're not even looking at you. They're not trying to engage with you, not trying to be social at all. They are involved in their phones or their computers or whatever they're doing, or the person that they're talking to that that they showed up with. They're not talking to you at all. But that's that culture. You go into the train there, everybody's like this on their phones. Like nobody's talking to each other, rarely. And they're just like, that's just the culture. Nobody's looking at you because you're Black or you look different. They don't. They're not doing that because there are some Black people there. I mean, compared to the overall culture, there's a few. Yeah, a lot of Black people are moving to Thailand, but you still like they're in different pockets, but you don't see them overall. You don't see like, oh, all these Black people. You don't see that. But yeah, they're not. They're very nice, and when you do talk to them and stuff, but they're kind of standoffish. They will like cut in front of you if you don't seem like which way what you're doing or how to navigate something. They're not going to say, "Oh, do you need any help?" They're just going to cut in front of you and do what they need to do. So yeah, they're not. It just depends on where you go. Like I went to Peru, and those people are so loving, so nice. And they don't necessarily smile, but they want to hug. Everybody wants to hug there. And I know there was a guy here who's doing work outside, and I had him do some plumbing work here. And I said, yeah, I asked him where he was from because he looked like the people there. And he said he was from Peru and the rest of his family's there. And I said, yeah, I went to your country and I loved it. And I told him my experience, and he said, yeah, that's part of the culture. We just hug. That's what we do. So wherever you go, it's going to be different. Um, but here in Spain, everybody wants to talk to you. Everybody wants to talk to you. Like, if you tell them in Spanish, like, I don't really understand what you're saying, they just talk to you anyway. Like, if you're standing outside, they're like, "Oh, beautiful day, huh? How are you doing? What are you doing?" Like, they just want to talk to you. They don't care what you look like. It doesn't even matter. And one thing here I notice, even in Barcelona, they believe in their culture, like the black culture. I went, like, there's a toy store, and during Christmas time, they have the black dolls front and center. Just as many black dolls as they do white dolls. And they have here Black Pete. Black Pete is like their Santa Claus. It's a black face doll with red lips. Yeah, I gotta post that one day because I got lots of pictures from that. But it's a prevalent thing. Like, this is Santa's helper. This, or Santa, 'cause they don't have Santa Claus. They have Black Pete. And the children, embrace the whole culture of it, and they love it. They have parades around it and stuff. And people who don't understand it, they come here and they get upset, and they're like, well, why do you have to have blackface? Because some of it, like, to depict it, they dress up in blackface. It's like, that's their culture. I'm not going to go to somebody else's country and say, don't do that. Don't do that, because that's not what we did in America. It's like, mind your business. Don't come there if you're trying to change everything around. You're trying to assimilate and be of service and see, how you can be helpful, or stay home. That's just my opinion. I'm from Charlotte, Charlotte, South Carolina. I'm from Charlotte. My old apartment had 2 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, only 978. It's not 2,700. I've met so many folks at work who are seriously different. Yeah, I'm sure. And Charlotte's gotten pricey too, if you're talking about Charlotte, South Carolina. Everything you're saying, I do understand because I've been out of the country a lot of times. Pop was in Air Force, so he moved a lot. The greed nowadays is open and unrepentant. It's sad. Blood work for 60 plus. Yep, it is. It's 60. It's like 60 or $70 a month. What was your job in America? I wanted to get into something like owning vending machines, etc. Yeah, I mean, vending machines. They have vending machines here too. Now they have something where, and I don't know if you could probably do this in America too, but there are companies that service people who have, like, small businesses who need, what is it? It's like they need packages shipped. So instead of like the Amazon containers, the Amazon, like, it's like a cabinet with the different doors, and they have keys, and you find out what locker you have, and then you go get your Amazon package. Well, this is for small businesses who want to ship things. So you put it in the locker, and then you say, okay, I shipped it in this locker, and then the carrier comes to pick it up out of that locker. Or if you have something delivered, they tell you what locker it's in, and you pick it up. So it's for that kind of thing. So that's something also that you can look into. The job, I've had so many jobs. The last job I had was a program director for a medical and dental school. It was a college. Got to go to work. We'll watch your next video. Have a good day. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you. So yeah, God did not create us to be boxed in, for us to feel like we have no options, and to feel like we couldn't bring forth the creativity that he put inside of us. God put that inside of us. You think he would put all of those ideas inside of us to just live with? I mean, that is the worst kind of feeling, to feel like, you know what, I have all these great ideas and I know I can make all this money from it, but I don't know how to do it, and I got to stay here for this person or for that family member, or because I need to be loyal to the job. Like, that's not why God put us here. We need to bring forth all those ideas, because there's so many people out there who are waiting for those ideas. But we have to, we go through all the things that we individually go through so that we can have that idea and polish it to bring it forth for other people, to be of service. And that's what's pleasing to God. So, like I said from the beginning, I got out and you can too. And I really mean that. You can too, if that is your desire. Don't stay where you are if that's not what you want to do. I know life happens. We all have situations. I had them too. I had medical issues. I had a thyroid issue. I had autoimmune disease, like all kinds of stuff. I couldn't walk barely. I was drowning. Life will life, but how? That depends on you. That depends on us, how life lives. Because we have choices. We always have a choice. And we can either move toward what we ultimately want to do or stay stuck. And which one do you choose? But once you choose that, just go all in. There's no plan B, no plan C. Just go all in, and God will provide. I wholeheartedly believe that. So I don't know how long I've been on here. Ooh, over an hour. I guess I'm going to sign off for now. My dog looks like he's laid out. He's enjoying this piece. So if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. I appreciate you all. I need to come on live more because I don't know, it's fun. I like sitting here talking to everybody. And if you have any comments or you have questions, feel free to leave those below. And come join us in the sisterhood, in the Freedom Collective, because this is where we go really deep and we talk about everything that we're experiencing, and we support one another and come up with ideas of how to get out for individual people, according to what your finances are and all of that. So you talk to other women who are going through it or who have gone through it, and that's very helpful. And if you feel like you're so stuck because of like physical issues that you're going through, book a clarity call with me. I have a program right now where women are losing weight. They are getting rid of the inflammation and the toxicity out of their systems. They're becoming empowered, feeling able to speak up again so that they can move, so that they can go forward with the things that they ultimately want to do. So that link is also below in the description box. And that's a part of the program I have called Lux to 50. And it's working. It's working for these women. So that's, I teach a lot of things in there about empowerment. All right. So you guys take care, and I will check you another time. See you in the next video. Bye.